All right, welcome back. So we're in the live stream now. This is 30 wins in 30 days. This is win number 2, or at least fingers crossed. That's what I'm hoping it's going to be. Just as a reminder, why we are here is because we're working on Nitwit OS. So this is the current version. What we are solving for today, with any luck, is this little issue here where I can put in inputs and I can kind of type whatever I want input-wise coming through there. The challenge is when I actually go to hit the AI, we go through a little offline. It's not quite connecting where I need it to go for the local test that I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do is, let me strip that back out. Okay, so what we're going to do now is to jump back in, and I'm going to dive in. We're going to go into the IDE, which is Visual Studio, and we're going to do a little bit of looking around and seeing what we can do when it comes to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up Visual Studio, and I'm going to bring us kind of back to our start. And this, again, just for those of you who maybe didn't see this part earlier, let me just show you kind of what we're doing. All right, so here, there we go. I'm just going to pop up here. Let me just do this. There we go. So Visual Studio, we've got our chat interface. This is the chat interface part on the kind of where my camera is. We've got the middle part where all the code stuff is. And then here's where Nitwit is. Remember, Nitwit stands for not in the way you think, because we are using AI, just not in the way that you are used to seeing it happen here. So what we're going to do is I want to show you kind of how I use Nitwit on the day-to-day. And this is why I'm putting the graphic interface in there so that we don't have to keep doing this. But it is useful to be able to work with the interface to get it to do new things. Like in this case, to become something that I can actually use to get all of our stuff connected here as we go through. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm just going to do a quick little riff. Hey, I'm wondering what's on deck. We are in the middle of the live stream. Actually, technically, we just started the live stream. So now I need to do whatever's necessary to get the live stream up and running as it relates to the Nitwit portal and everything else we got going there. Can you go through, kind of take a look at the current inventory? Let me know what we have to do, what the next steps are, and then walk me through whatever those next steps are. So again, remember the point of this entire system was for its ability. I'm just going to go off to this side here so you can kind of see that thinking. The entire point of this is an organizational system. This is basically an AI native organizational system. It's an AI native operating system. Eventually I'll show you how it's other things in addition to that. So here we go. We have the empty ask Nitwit. Oh, it didn't, I don't know why it didn't block. Curious. It's important because they didn't get my thing. I don't know why that happened. That's all right. Let me just try this again. I don't know why that didn't take. It was sitting right there. Hopefully you saw that. I probably just went too fast. Let's try this again. All right, we are here. It is 3:03 p.m., so we're 3 minutes into the live stream. I am here, of course, wanting to continue whatever we need to do on the Nitwit desktop operating system. I also have our viewer here, and of course, they're here with the rest of the audience. So make sure you say hi to them because they're watching. So keep the right stuff to yourself. Make sure we're not giving out public information, all that fun stuff. But also, I want to know what we need to do because, kind of give us a recap of where we are, what happened, and what we need to do next based on where we're at, knowing that we're on live stream of the win number 2 for 30 wins in 30 days. All right, that should work. Now it's got input. Okay, there we go. So I was just going too fast before. That's the first time it's ever happened, but that's all right. I have actually noticed that I speak so damn fast that even a computer can't keep up sometimes. So I apologize to all of you. All right, so let me see what else it's got here. We're doing our thinking. Again, this was all supposed to be an organizational system in the beginning, so that's kind of what it knows to do that. All right, so here we're going to recap. Tackle, perfect. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this side too so we can keep that. So thanks for tuning into the stream. Currently operating in Nitwit OS, local node, which is true. We're in cycle 1, which is the seed. That is this week, which is true. Focused on building the logical foundation, defining the schemas, and working towards the $500 Nitwit developing kit, which is the product that we are selling. And of course, what I'm developing in front of you, so you can see how it was built. Here's the progress logged into the systematic ledger for 30 wins. Okay, there's 1, there's 2, which is great. So we have that stuff done. Now here's what happens today. Goals afternoon to live build is establish the API bridge and the NDK logic. which is good. That's the Nitwit developing kit, the actual thing. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of getting all of this set out and I'm packaging it. There's a little mini one right back here, which I won't show you yet. It's not quite done, but we're packaging it so that you can basically do everything that I'm doing, except yours will just work with the user interface, as opposed to you having to do what I'm doing now. Because I could sell it to you like it is now, but you would have to use it like I use it now, and that's just unlikely unless you want to learn how to Nitwit prompt. And most people don't want to learn to do that, so I'm just going to make it graphics, and then we can send it out. And if you do want to do Nitwit prompting, it works better, but we can cover that stuff later. Okay, since we set up the ask yesterday, today's about the plumbing. We need to connect the architecture, which is exactly right. The execution plan, so we're going to analyze the blueprint. Okay, that's good. Construct the API bridge logic. I like that. Define the packaging logic. I definitely am interested in how it's going to do that. And then we're going to update the ledger, which is also important. And at that point, it will also kick out the content I need to do the recap for the automatedwith.tech community. So for those of you who are not a part of that yet, just go to, that's the website, automatedwith.tech. And when you go there, there's a free community you can join, and that's where we kind of talk about all this stuff. And you'll see additional updates there. And then I will also be putting a little bit more details around kind of the trends and patterns in AI as we get past this initial part. I'm going to start showing you how this will then start producing a lot of helping to predict what's happening in the market for all of us. Okay, so with that, I'm just going to go ahead and flip it into ACT to begin. Out of curiosity, I do like to keep track of my spend. So I'm just going to remove my face off here. So right now I'm, roughly a dime in-ish. And like I said, I do check that against the API itself. So I want to make sure, I always double check against the API to make sure I'm really spending that or not. So it's probably around 10 cents, but not too bad. All right, so now we're in ACT mode. We're getting on day 2, which is when here. All right. So now it's pulling in some of those documents that I'm looking at right now that it's pulling in are inputs that I gave it already that talks a little bit about what the program is that it has access to. So it's understanding, again, some of the stuff I've done. It's going through some of its core files, which is good. So it's understanding itself a little bit, and it's figuring out what it needs to be, and then it found its bridge, which is good. And I'm looking at these files. I know what those files do, which is kind of why I know that as a developer, but it's a good sign for me. That's what I'm looking at to see, okay, did it go through the logic that I would have gone through if I was the one doing this? Because that's kind of what I'm looking at. This is like an automated thinking machine. That's what Nitwit is. And I wanted to, as an operator of Nitwit, I'm double checking its thinking, right? I'm making sure the logic is, even though it's my logic, my thinking, it should be following that. But I got to make sure the code is working. All right, so it's coding. Now these MD files, these are just going to be, these are essentially the files that would be ready for some sort of public something or other. Let's see what we got here. All right, so here's our API bridge. We execute the logic. 30 days. I'm just going to bring this back a little easier for you to read. Okay, so just some static visual. Let's just find out. All right, so there we've got our bridge. So that's the 4-site gateway with 3. So now it's created a LEAP file. So if I click into this, this is a LEAP file. So a LEAP file, again, LEAP stands for Logically Engineered AI Prompt. This is where Nitwit is essentially going through and it's building its logic of how it needs to think through whatever it needs to think through. So it's going through and it's kind of planning out the steps that it's going to do and wrapping that. So it has the basics, the basic plan of what it's going to look for. So I can kind of go through right now. I'm going to get it into Gemini 3 Flash, which is fine because I just need a API hooked in. But eventually, and pretty quickly, once I get this done, I can just flip it to anything. So I'm going to make it anything. But for now, because I use Google stuff, I'm going to keep it there. This makes sense. The wealth, the signal, the life craft. Okay, this is just where it's pulling itself back into the system. And this makes sense. We're going to talk more about this later, but that's good. All right, so here's our destination node. That is the Nitwit node. This is the action. HILU, again, stands for highest, immediate, logical, obviously useful. That's what that stands for. And the system knows that. That's why it uses HILU. The system, the points, okay. And when we achieve the bridge, we transform the text file into the valid JSON destination snapshot. Okay, so let's find out. So here's our NDK logic. So we did the bridge protocol. Here's the NDK logic, another LEAP file. All right, so this is talking about specifically the development kit. So the kernel and the bridge would be there, so you would get that. The switchboard would be in there, which is the Ask Nitwit. That's good. That's your input. Let's see, we got the hobbyist, we got the operators. We're going to do it as a zip file package. Just a bunch of files you can input because you can just open them up. It's kind of all it is. It's pretty simple. And the purchase is, oh, that's good. We'll talk more about Nitwit Mini next week with any luck. So we'll talk more about that. And this, by the way, I'm going to talk more about this, but this was because it really upset me how everybody always takes care of new customers, but nobody takes care of their existing customers. Always like making new deals to get new customers. And it's all about new customer acquisition, and nobody seems to care about the people who have already made them good. So I'm very big into the loyalty aspect of this, which those of you, by the way, who way back in the day bought the Digital One Builders Kit, you already know this because you got an upgrade to the Nitwit Developing Kit for free. And that did not cost you $500 back in the day. Let's see. So the installation sequence. So we're going to clone. I don't know if we're going to clone that. Oh, we might. Okay. All right. Let's see how that goes. I'm kind of interested to see how that will go. There's our ledger updated, which is fine. I'm going to come back with the stuff later. That's not necessary for now. And then here's the day's build. All right, so this is where it's basically saying, here's what success looks like, right? This would be the idea of the result that it's trying to get. All right, so now we're doing all of that. All right, so now what I want to do is I don't know necessarily that it acted and built the LEAP files yet, that it actually's done the core. And I could test it, but I'm not going to. I just like kind of asking it and be like, okay, what's the next step? What do we need to do? And I want to show you kind of how a normal, like how you can just kind of do normal everyday things with this without thinking too much like a developer. I'm trying to purposely not do that right now. So I'm just going to put in here, and I'm going to try to do some voice just to make it a little bit easier. And hopefully it's something that you also do. All right. Okay, I've gone through, I see the API bridge protocol LEAP. I don't know what we're supposed to do with that. I see the NDK logic. I guess that makes sense. Let's come back to that later, but I would like to see the API bridge working. I want to see the localhost thing working that we had on that error. What do I need to do? Can you go through and just sort of reset up everything or test it all? And then ideally, if at all possible, just open it up in a browser so I can interact with whatever the most obviously up-to-date version is. So that what I'm expecting is I can go into the Ask Nitwit, which is the switchboard. I can go into the Ask Nitwit and I can ask it a question and it'll come back with the Foresight protocol already for that question. At least that. That's all we really need to have that loop. Because I know in my case, what I want to do is once I know that the AI is connected, then I know the AI is in the system. And now it's just a matter of plumbing and getting everything else. But I've kind of got the electricity plugged in. And that's how we think about AI. As long as we have the AI plugged in kind of as electricity, like it's the power source for Nitwit specifically in the graphic interface so that it's in there and I can interact with it and it's going somewhere and then coming back. That's what I'm looking for. So whatever we need to do for that is what I'm trying to do. It seems like we've got some pretty good plans in place, but I really want to be skeptical about it. And I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm supposed to do from here on out. I'm just trying to describe what I want as a result without trying to get in the way. And FYI, I could be completely wrong about all of this. Now, the reason I will often say, FYI, I could be completely wrong about all of this, is I always want to put uncertainty. I always want to demonstrate I am uncertain. That is not just for me, though it's important for me. I need to be uncertain. Because if you are certain about what you need and what you want, you are, in today's day and age, it's like you are not competitive. Only deeply uncertain people will be competitive in the new world because they will question themselves and they will discover new things. And that's how you do that. You have to be uncertain of everything. And I don't mean like you can't move. I just mean you just kind of go like, yeah, well, that's what it seems like for now. But in 10 seconds, I might have new data that shows me something else. Or can I see something else that will maybe help my certainty in some way or prove me wrong? Like I like doing that a lot. Like, hey, what are the impossible questions that I have to think about that I would have had to have believed were true in order to even get this far? Or the things that cannot possibly happen that have to happen in order for me to get my result. Things like that. Like an AI is great at pulling out patterns like that. Okay, so the good news is the plumbing's already fully coded. Well, we'll see. Hard code to look for the API bridge. Oh, that's good. And the bridge is already configured. Good to know. So and it didn't open up the browser. That's okay. I have had it open up the browser before. I'm trying to figure out how to get that again. Because it just sort of happened one day where the browser, it popped up the browser, but now I'm like, ooh, now that I know you can do that, I'm going to put that in the logic file. So it just automatically does that. And that's kind of what it's like. Sometimes I learn Nitwit can do new things because that's kind of purposely what it does, is try to figure out where it is and then what it has the ability to do. So if it's in an IDE, like right now it's in Visual Studio, can it pop open a browser, right? Maybe it can. If it's in a Google Drive folder or a Google Drive system, what does Google Drive have access to that it can use? Same with Notebook LM or Gemini or anything using AI for, Claude or OpenAI, doesn't really matter. All right, so we're gonna launch. So it is going to launch the user, or it says it's going to launch it. So let's go find once UI's open. So it's really just going to launch this, which is fine. So let's find out. Plugging in the electricity now. Let's go find out if it does. Now it's trying to get in localhost. And I'm going to pay attention because something I was not doing yesterday that I should have is I wasn't really paying attention to these terms. Like this is something I will not do on a live stream that I will totally do off a live stream, which is pay a lot more attention to what some of these messages are. And that's because I know that you're here and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I need to entertain them a little bit. But it was spinning around because of this before and it couldn't get through. And there was an issue because of the network of where this file is located that it couldn't get through my network on. And so I'm gonna see if this can get through its system. Otherwise, I might just open it up on my other computer really quickly just to confirm that theory. Because I think that's what the issue is it's trying to get through the network and it's getting blocked. But let's find out. Looks like it has access there. And then this is what it's trying to figure out. And when I'm seeing it spin a little bit, I'm just going to go off to the side so I can check the cost here. Let me just get my face out of the way. So around 50 cents, I'm good. I know why this isn't working. All right, give me a second here. This is the other computer. It's because of where I located it. I can see that's going to be spinning around, but that's okay. This is the first time. This is only because I'm live streaming this, because normally I just have my other computer where I actually get everything done. So I'm just going to log in on that really quickly. And then here's what we're going to do. This is not going to work. I'm going to cancel this because this would have already, I think this would have already done something by now. So what I'm going to do is try something a little crazy, but I am curious to see if it will work. And at the same time, what I'm concerned about is I'm about to lose the live stream recording here because I'm about to go kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Come on. All right, I'm just confirming this is definitely not working yet. It's going to try, and it's not. Okay, perfect. All right. So this is because it can't get to my other computers. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a quick little Google Meet. And I'm going to go on my other computer here. And we're going to do the same thing. Give me just a second. I don't know if this is going to work, but I've been actually curious to try this anyway, so I'm going to try it, and we're going to see. Okay, let's share screens. Okay, now what should happen? With any luck, let's find out. Okay, here we go. Now we are looking on a different computer at my VS Code. And this is where I got to make sure my PC is still able to record. We're not losing too many frames here because I am doing multiple broadcasts at the same, 2 live streams both together. Let's see how we do. All right. We're going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to do one other quick little thing that I'm personally doing for AI, which is important, is I am going to record it because I can take the live stream from this, the transcript from this, but I want the training data of this, of what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to record on my phone my side of the transcript. This is why I'm going to talk so much as well. But you're going to hear how I start to record data and why I identify it the way I do. So here we go. All right, it is June 2nd, 2026, 3:21 p.m. We are technically 21 minutes into the live stream. I accidentally just forgot to start the recording for this part of it, so we could have the transcription already ready. We honestly haven't missed too much. So we started doing the initial localhost thing. It didn't work. We had the same errors that we're running into, but I believe it's because of how the network was set up. So I've done a quick adjustment, and we are actually broadcasting from a different computer. We have 2 computers doing broadcasts right now. We'll talk more about that off screen or offline when I'm done, how we need to organize this. However, we should be able to see me typing. Yes. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to kind of okay. So I may not be paying attention to the camera all that much, but you'll be able to see me, I think, a little bit here as I do this. It'll just look like I'm not looking in the right direction. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the same thing again just for sake of... All right, I want to go ahead. We are on the live stream. We are about 20 minutes in. It is time to go ahead and set up all the localhost stuff and confirm that. So I want you to go through, get a transcript, or take a look at where we are localhost-wise, see where everything is, what fits, what needs to be done. Why did too many microphones, too many computers. And a desk that was not made for it all. All right, let's do this. This is why I love the live streams. Okay. Okay, we are in live stream already. We're 20 minutes in to win number 2. So at this point, we need to go through and get the desktop portal, the Nitwit desktop portal up and running. We want to make sure everything works with the local host stuff, and we connect the API bridges and all that. So can you go through, do a current status check of where we currently are, test everything, and let's go ahead and get that updated, set up, all that fun stuff. Whatever needs to be done, make it done. Also give me a set of testing steps after you've already tested it. And ideally, once it's already done and tested, you have it opened up in a new tab, and then we can see it working live and I can test it as an operator. All right, so let's try that. See if I can switch over. Modern technology. This is the laptop that you're actually broadcasting from right now. And we'll see what we can do. All right. And if this doesn't work, I promise you it'll take me 10 minutes off of a live stream and I'll just have it done. Because it is a hell of a lot easier to do this when you are not live streaming with people watching. Even if there's nobody watching, it doesn't matter because part of your brain's in the back knowing that you're kind of on stage. So I would never recommend that somebody do this unless you're doing it for the reasons that I am right now. And really, the first few wins are going to be really insanely boring to watch. It's the other ones coming up that are built on these that are happening. These are the foundational ones that seem like a total pain in the butt, and they are. And And most people just don't want to go through this part because it's not comfortable. All right, now we got a browser window. This is their internal browser window, it looks like. But that looked like it was a good sign. Now, this is why I'm using the right computer now, so it's just getting right through everything. It was a network problem. I had a feeling I should have known that. All right, so there's the error. So we failed. So it's looking at the Google APIs. And again, it's going for these 2.0 Flash. This is something I'm going to code into the logic and make it, because it keeps pulling from its old silly memory, these old models. They just don't exist anymore. And it needs to start pulling the right models, and it's not. So let's see, tool, place and file. And I need it to just look for certain files. At least it stopped asking for 1.5, which has been out deprecated for a while, but 2.0 has been gone for a while too. This is also part of the importance of researching, making sure you stay up to date on the technology, because I can already know that some of these models aren't there anymore. But it doesn't know that, right? Things move too fast and the databases aren't updated yet. So I'm not blaming it, but I am making sure it goes through and fixes itself. So let's find out what it says. All right, so we're going to fix the API bridge. Let's go back here. So the current status check. UI is built. Okay, developer tools. I've already installed the NPM dependencies. Okay. The bridge is failing because the model was mistakenly declared, of course. The NDK snapshot, we're not going to worry about that right now, but we'll come back to that. The API bridge is what's going to fix. And this is the problem. It just keeps going back to like, oh, you know what we're going to do? This 2.0 model is gone, but we're going to go back to an older model, which somehow will be there. So this is what I'm going to have to hard code this, because I thought for a second they would update this, but it's not. So I'm just going to hard code it as a LEAP file. I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to put it into a system and say, hey, we need to do this. Actually, I will do that. Let me do this. I'll show you how to do it. Let's see. So I'm going to say solve. So this is nitwit prompting. And I don't think I want to do integrate. I'm going to take that out. So, and there isn't a right or wrong way to do this. There's just the way that works, but it is a lot of kind of flowing your way through it. And what I'm doing is I'm thinking through my logic. So what I need the AI to do, and this is why I'm doing this first, this is called seed and shell architecture. But I've got the seed, which is the context for what to think about, right? So I want you to solve in some way that is persistent, meaning somewhat permanent, but there's no such thing as permanent. So I say persistent. How are you doing it, right? I wanted to answer that. And that's why the question mark is there. And then what I'm going to put in here is, and I'm going to do a little long-winded because I kind of want you to hear it, but otherwise I could shorten this up to say like, no, Gemini 3.5, only the new models, but I'm going to go a little long-winded here. All right, Gemini 1.5 is deprecated. That is confirmed as of current date and time, which is June 2nd, 2026. 2.0 is deprecated. There has to be some other way that we can pull the new models. I know I'm currently using Gemini 3. I think I'm using Gemini 3 Flash right now. There's also 3.1. So go pull the current models. There has to be some place that we can pull a list of current models. Is it possible you can search the internet? Is it possible that you can search Google? Is it possible there's a Google API list somewhere that I don't know about that you could add into a LEAP file that would cause the LEAP file to, the first thing it has to do is to update itself to figure out what the latest models are? Because this has been a consistent problem where older models are put into production or attempted to be put into production, but they do not exist. They've been deprecated and there is no updated model. So the whole system breaks. And what I'm looking for is to make sure that we've future-proofed it. Okay, I'm going to add another line here. This is why I do the hashtags. So I kind of use them as, you can see up here, I'm using the hashtag right there. So I'll do another one as a bullet point, just as kind of like a summary, because I want to make sure I'm emphasizing the point. And I'll talk this one through too. Basically, we're trying to figure out how to make sure we always have the most current truth as to what models are currently available and which models we are using for which purposes. And they must be somehow in a leap.md file in some sort of reference document, or else we're not going to remember to keep doing that. And it's not going to be part of the logical process. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, how we solve for that, because there's no way that any of these other Gemini models are going to currently work. All right, we're going to see this. Now, a lot of times with AI, this is good. This is all good. Everything else is good. So all I'm doing is I'm keeping it in plan mode, and I'm going to give it a little bit of that, just my little feedback. And I'm asking it to solve in a way that is persistent, and then explain how it's going to do that. So the thinking should be coming through. There's the model deprecation. It's playing around looking for stuff. Always like to see how it got to where it wants to get to. Currently using deprecation. I need to adapt. Necessitates more dynamic model selection approach. Yes, it does. I need to consider configuration files. Yes. See, I don't know to say configuration files, but it does. And that's why I like reading these, because it's like, oh, what does it call it? And then I'll start repeating that. That's how I learn how to speak developer. Because I definitely would not count myself as a developer in any way, shape, or form. There's our dynamic modeling, Nitwit Bridge, Media Update, Gemini 3.5 Flash. Yay! Okay, and for those that don't know, 3.5 Flash was just announced last week at Google I/O. So that for me, I know most current truth. That is the actual most one. I actually don't mind 3.5 Flash. It's pretty decent. So I'm fine with that one. That's pretty good. For now. And I know that I can change it just by saying, now change it to this, or make a drop down where I can flip out the model. And Nitwit ultimately is set up with a detection system, so it'll flip local, which means it'll use a local AI on your machine, so you can technically use it offline and it won't cost you anything. Or you can pop it to something if you need a little more power, which would be like a regular API that you use for Claude or OpenAI, or in my case, Google. All right. I think we're pretty good. I'm going to let that fly. And then we'll see how we do. So now we flipped it into act mode. It should go through and be building all that fun stuff out. And you can kind of see here, it's already put in the LEAP file. It's got its discovery, its Gemini API key here. It's thinking through. That's good. So you can kind of see some stuff here. I know it might be a little blurry. That's because you're looking at a broadcast of a broadcast. I apologize for that. But at least you can kind of see the stuff moving through. It's not important you read every single word. It's important I read the words, for sure. But what I like about this system is because it actually does work really well locally. I'll figure that out. Okay. Some of these things that'll pop up on live streams, I'm just going to close out. I know they're probably super important, but when it's on a live stream, I'm like, I'll figure it out later. And I'm not afraid of making mistakes. That's like the best part about this. Because whatever the mistake is, it just doesn't matter. You can fix it. All right, we're not connecting. It's realizing that. And when in doubt, you just ask the system. Okay, here we go. 3.5. Let's see if 3.5 is officially connected. It does exist as a model, I know for sure. It received the input. Okay, it made a little fake signal. There's the action. It's confirmed. There's the snippet. Here's the points. Perfect. So it just ran through a JSON. That's a JSON reply right now is what just happened. So those points where it says acknowledge the successful connection of the APIs, confirm all this stuff, right? This stuff in here. This is JSON response. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a fixed response. I can give it a fixed input. It'll give me a fixed response back. That's what we're looking for. Because when you can do that, you've now turned a probabilistic machine, which is AI, into something a little bit more deterministic. It's probabilistic. I don't know what those 5 points are going to be. I just know there's going to be 5 points, right? And I know that they're going to be point one will always be about whatever point one's about, but I don't know exactly what the words are. That's what I mean by probabilistic, but probabilistic within a range, within a very tight deterministic range. Something I always call like limitless limitations. So it's got limitations, but it's limitless as to how it does that. Anything in the wiggle room. And that's what's useful about this. So this is a good sign for me because that means the API, we're officially working. And we're at a buck here, so that's okay. So I'm probably at a $1.50, $1.75, something like that right now. Okay, here's our test completed. All right, so it says we're up and running. That acts as the single source of truth. Okay, perfect. So that's good. That's really good. So I'll be using that. There's nitwit bridge into the flash, into the mode. Okay, true. Intake wizard, type of paste URL request, foresight preview. All right. So if that's true, then that should work. All right, let's find out. So what I'm going to do, let me think if I can do this. Actually, I was going to try to do it on the other computer. Let me just do this here. So we're going to pull it up here. Just keep our focus on what we need to keep the focus on. So squeeze that out. Okay. So here I'm in my files. So here's my Nitwit OS local, right? That's what I'm looking at. I'm going to go into the digital backpack. In my digital backpack is a view. The view is the desktop. So I'm just going to open this with Chrome. All right, let's lighten you up a little bit. Everything likes dark mode. Okay, so we're going to say, so foresight protocols. Let's see if this is really going to work. Actually, I'm going to do voice too, just to see. I'm trying to figure out how to do a game plan because I want to do taco night this coming Tuesday, and I'm not quite sure how to do taco night, knowing that I just don't have any taco meat. And so I'm not sure how to do it without meat. Click the button. We're consulting the kernel. And this is already, y'all, we are there. Okay, so based on the node, this goes in the life node because this is a lifestyle thing. The action we're going to do is to establish a meatless Tuesday taco night using plant-based proteins because sure. I was kind of curious if it was going to be like, oh, you can just go to the grocery store if you want. But because it doesn't know about my diet, so I figure that's fine. The HILU 3, so this basically means like it's the highest immediate logical, obviously useful output, but it's been checked 3 different perspectives is kind of what that means. All right, so then now there's a little bit of view, right? That's off here where I can't see all of the responses, but that's okay because that's simple. If I came in here and said, oh yeah, well I need a scroll, it would just, okay, I'm gonna go to scroll or whatever. So I don't really care about that. However, I can't read, but this is okay. Identify the base, some of the ingredients, okay, so this would be the stuff, it's giving me what I need. This is good. Now, what I'm testing for, the big thing that I was doing for today is making sure this piece connected to AI. Why is that so important? Because if this piece connects to AI, which it clearly does, and I'm going to zoom out here, when this piece connects to AI, everything else will then start connected to AI because now I have it plugged in. And again, the way that I think about AI is electricity. I think about tokens like electrons. So and this is where I think most people made a huge error in the world where all these big companies were like, oh, you got to go spend your tokens and you have to have races to see who's the token leaderboard of who can spend the most tokens. That's you might as well just who can waste the most electricity. Like that's what it is. Who can waste the most tokens because that's what's going to happen when you reward pure token spend. And that's all you care about is the number of tokens. It used to be upset me in measurements. It's like everybody was collecting data and nobody knew what to do with the data. They was collecting data for data's sake. And that's another example. Well, think about the behavior you're encouraging when you say you got to go spend for tokens. You're just going to get people who spend on tokens, not efficiently spend on tokens. Why do you think I'm checking my numbers all the time? And I'm like, oh, look, I'm like $3 in. If I hit a $7 day, I'm kind of going, man, I'm spending a lot. And you just don't have to do a whole bunch. And I know I'm going to be spending more with time for sure. But I want to make sure the tokens are officially being spent. And Leap files, because they're doing so much pre-thought and thinking through, really makes the tokens a lot better. So that's really cool. So now we have this working. That's all I care about. Now, nothing else is going to happen here. It would normally go through. I would hit. It probably has another button option at the bottom there, but I can't see it, which is okay. And from there, it would go into, it could be processed. I would create a Leap file that might be here. It'll show up on my backpack, which is going to make, we're going to call this the on deck calendar. So it'll show up on deck, and then I'll be able to flip through the different nodes. There would be a little life thing here that says, oh, you got Taco Tuesday coming up. Here's what we're going to do, present for that. Or craft, right, for the stuff that we're doing now, which is pretty cool. And then I will be able to now I can click on this, and then that'll trigger the AI to update stuff. So everything can be, or the code, right? When I say AI, I mean nitwit, but some of this will just be coded where there is no AI involved and it's deterministic. And some of it is the AI is involved because it needs a little bit of probabilistic. And this is perfect. So now I know 3.5 is connected. That I cannot tell you how the rest of this that's the hardest part, what I just did. And honestly, I could have done this yesterday if I had just flipped to my freaking laptop. Oh, I'm so irritated. I didn't think about that yesterday. However, I also learned because when I was after the live stream, I went through those logs really quick and I saw it going into the wrong. I was like, oh, it's in the directory and it's trying to attach to a directory that I know it's not allowed to attach to. And that's why it's doing that. So anyway, lesson learned on my part. Apologize for going down the rabbit hole too far on that. But you can now see we have AI connected. So this is super cool. All right. From here on out, this helps me dramatically because I'm officially going to get started on building out these others as I come through here. And then we will build out the NDK. But I'm going to clean up the OS just a tiny bit just to show you how we can do that. And then I'm going to wrap this up so we don't go too long because this was a huge win already. This is all I needed. And this is kind of the best part. You take your wins and you go. Like, you don't have to power through for 15 hours a day vibe coding. It shouldn't be like that. You should be like, oh, yeah, go enjoy your life. You did a good job. Enjoy. Celebrate. All right, here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this. This is the one problem with the laptop. I want to get... Sorry. Let's do this. That's what I want. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to refresh it. Okay. I don't know if that's the exact newest one, but that's okay. It at least gives me what I'm looking for because I'm going to change the titles in this stuff. All right, here we go. I'm going to give it a little bit of cosmetic direction, just tiny, tiny bits for now. And then I'm going to go back into function after that offline. And then what I'm going to do offline is I'm going to go through and make the NDK. I would normally show that to you. And I will show you afterwards what it looked like. But what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to tell Nitwit, hey, go through and capture yourself. And then once you've got everything captured, I want you to, or what I mean by that is take an inventory of what you are, essentially. And then I want to make a version of you that's like the light version, right? You don't have all my files or the generic version. I won't say it's light, it's generic. So it doesn't have my memories, my specific files. In other words, it's not going to talk about creating a Nitwit developing kit or building automatedwith.tech, which is my website, not yours, right? So all that stuff is going to get stripped out because currently, as you can tell here, like all this is all my company, right? So this is the stuff I'm going to be building out now. And this is what the rest of this is really going to be showing you. Not today, but the future wins. You're going to see stuff back here now. Because now that I can get the AI in the front dashboard, I'm going to use it to create all this other stuff that's in these other sections. And I will also show you how to use the IDE to create other sections, which you will need to do when you're using a Nitwit developing kit, because you're literally developing your Nitwit versus the developed one, which will be Nitwit Mini. That comes out next week, at least currently. So that's what it seems like it's going to be. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do some cosmetic changes here. And I'm going to show you what I am doing so you can see it. There we go. All right, so I'm asking Nitwit right down here in the lower right-hand corner. Okay. All right, I have a couple things. One, on the thing that says, so I'm looking at 02 _ ask nitwit. This is on the Nitwit OS desktop HTML. The Ask Nitwit whiteboard, I just wanted to call it Ask Nitwit. We can take out the 02. Also, I want to make sure that there's a scroll bar or something like that for longer answers that might come through, because that happens where the answers come through, they're a little long, and then I can't scroll and see the answers, and I can't see any buttons to adjust or to proceed. So I want to make sure that we think that through. In the next section, which is 01 underscore backpack, I just want to call that the on deck calendar. So we just call that is what it is. You can still say it's the live rendering of the on deck calendar.md, which is fine. I just want to make sure that it is always pulling whatever the most current date and time is of the on deck calendar.md update, because there should be a timestamp on that main core file. And I want to make sure that the graphic user interface that we're looking at on the OS desktop.html is always pulling from whatever that is, so that it has that. So we always know what version or what's the most current date that we're looking at. I also want to make sure that the factory where it says 03 underscore factory is just called factory. It doesn't say L4 anymore. It just says, instruments and dashboards is fine. We don't need to say L4. That's more of like an internal code that we use, but now this is supposed to be public facing. And then the other one that says 04 underscore showroom, let's just call that the showroom, where we have that for now. That might change. Also, let's see, I think all the nodes look pretty good, except under craft. I would call that, instead of the Studio Forge, let's get rid of the word forge, because we all know how AI likes to use the words forge and Oracle and architect. Oh my God. So we want to get rid of all that crap. And I really want to look through anything else that a normal person would find very useful. For example, there's settings on here, but I can't turn off the settings. There's no way to hide the settings. So I have the settings, but I can't hide them, and I don't always need the settings on. So maybe there's a way to do that as well. To be honest, I think I'm going a little bit too far down the rabbit hole. So I'm okay if we don't do all of this, because I'm not quite sure the exact best way to do this. I also noticed that in the what was going to be called the on deck calendar, it says things like N1 wealth and N2 signal. I think we can just say, wealth and signal for now. We don't have the N1 and N2. And the reason what I'm trying to communicate is a pattern that is pulling out the operator terminology. In other words, my terminology, my understanding, because I know what all of this means. It's super easy for me to use this. I understand what it's doing, but no one else does. The viewer with me right now, they don't understand what this is. The audience members that are with them, they don't understand what all these little symbols and codes and everything mean, because they didn't grow up with us as we were developing Nitwit into the operating system. So what we want to do is clean this entire thing up and change the language so that it looks a little bit more like something that a normal person who would not associate themselves as a vibe coder, they would never think of themselves as a vibe coder, but they would absolutely use this tool because it just organizes their life. And then obviously does everything else that the wealth node, the signal node, the life node, and the craft node will do, as you know that they will be able to do. And we don't have to go figure all that stuff out yet. We just know that they can do it. But we want to think about it from that person's perspective, who's the total addressable market that's likely to use this, knowing that they do not think that they are vibe coders. They don't think about themselves like vibe coders. They don't think about themselves like developers. They're just trying to get through life and organize themselves. And we want to make this interface for them. So what does this look like? What do the labels change? What's the design change? I obviously want to keep the AI integrated, and we want to integrate the AI in any other areas that we need to, so we can start thinking about how the AI would need to go. We do know that Foresight preview, the basics of it kind of work, and we're going to probably adjust some of that. But I want to kind of get these other things adjusted first, and then we're going to come back to that, just so I can kind of get the overall design a little more cleaned up. All right, so I'm asking Nitwit. I gave it a little riff there. I will say already, I'm doing this partially because this is a live stream right now and you are here. In reality, I don't think it's really entirely necessary for me to go through and change all the language of everything, because that's not the hard part. I should just focus on the function of this. But if I don't change the language, it's going to be harder and harder for you to realize what the functions are and what I'm doing. because I know these words are a lot of code words for me. And that's what's kind of cool about AI. And AI does this a lot, probably does it with you too, where it'll say, oh, great, we're going to call that the blah, 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 blah. And it'll say things like, oh, we're going to call that the Sovereign Oracle Architect Forge or whatever. And it creates it. And then, oh, bring in the Sovereign Architect or bring in my such and such Oracle, right? It always comes up with stuff like that. So that's a code word for you, right? If it used the Oracle and you knew what the Oracle was, fine. That's what's happened here. So there's things like backpack, there's things like factory, there's things like showroom. They mean something to me. I understand what they mean. Nitwit understands what they mean. You don't. And I don't necessarily need you to understand the codes. I need you to understand just kind of, I want you to be able to use it from just opening up this as software. I want you to think it's software, basically, right? And somebody like my mom uses this. I want her to be able to think, oh, this is just a program. Not realizing it's basically AI native operating system that is just constrained into a program, but can be anything. I've just made it a program. And I'll talk more about what that is later, because there's other aspects to Nitwit. I'm showing you just the tip of the iceberg as to what this thing can do. And I needed to get this part working, which is really cool. So now that I got the AI in there, I think we're good. All right, let's see what we got. By the way, all of you should know, ignore the first thing where AI always says, you're amazing, because it kind of has to. It's just part of the program. On deck calendar, factory's good. Okay, so basically she's repeating my words to me, which is fine. Remove the end prefixes. Okay, that's good. So it has all those. The scroll bar thing it's got. We'll figure this stuff out. This is the stuff that now here's what I do. So I will look at this, and what I'm looking for is oh, there's a thing in there called scroll bar hide. Okay, that's why that's in there. So now I know that's a thing. And this is how I'm not a developer, but it's like I can feel like I'm a developer a little bit, or start to understand a little bit, or associate, because I'm learning some of the code, and it's helping me do that, right? It's kind of why I'm doing that. All right. And then it's got a little gear for the settings, which is fine. Dynamic timestamp, ping in the on deck calendar. That's also good. All right, for now. All right, so let's do that. That sounds good. I'm going to make these changes, and then we're going to end this. And then what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. So I'm going to, which I gotta say, rest of the day is going to be like probably 20 minutes for me. But what I'm going to do is, at this point, I'm going to mint or package, I should say. I'm going to package the NDK, the Nitwit developing kit, so that essentially you could buy it, because anybody can buy it this week for $500. And I'm going to have that live. So I'm going to make that live just so it's a thing that's there. If you buy it, that'd be awesome. By the way, if you own a Digital One Builder's Kit from way back in the day, do not buy this. If I do my job right, the system should not allow you to buy it, because you get an upgrade, right? Because you bought the Digital One Builder's Kit. That's why I like rewarding people who buy stuff early. And that will also be true for future products for those of you that buy the Nitwit Developing Kit. So I'll talk more about that later. All right, get this thing working. It's doing its thing. Very cool. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to work on, now that we got the models in there, which is good, I needed that. I'm going to work a tiny bit on the logic. The NDK logic was already figured out about how it's going to build itself, which is good. And I'm going to build it so it'll be a nice little file structure that'll be delivered through a zip file. And that'll all come through automatedwith.tech. So I'm just doing that in my head right now, kind of what's going to happen there. And this is where human in the loop is kind of a thing, but not really a thing, because I'm not really doing much. I just kind of start a closed loop system, and then the AI goes through its loops of logic, and then it stops and it says, I'm done. And then I pick it back up. So I'm not really in the loop of what the AI is doing. I just kick off the AI and let it do its thing. And then it does a loop, and then it gives me the output, and then I validate the output. And that's where humans are always going to be needed, which is we are the taste. We're the ones that say, is this good? Is this quality? And from a human being's perspective, that's, if you get good at determining quality, and I don't mean like somebody else's version of quality. Oh, I'm going to be better at like whatever you care about. Like for me, it's systems, it's operations, it's structure. I can smell a crappy structure 18 miles away. Like it's insane. This is why I can see some of these big, massive companies are dead companies. They're dead because their structures are bad. But anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about that. You'll find out more about that stuff later as we go through this. But That is my quality. I'm good at that. I know structure in that way. I can do that. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure the structure is good because that's what my quality sensors that I'm built with kind of pre-installed. That's what I do. Other people are really good about making wine and they know quality around that. I don't. Other people are much better at technology quality things that I'm not good at. But when it comes to systems and structure, I'm very good. But that's not because I've practiced it a lot, right? You could also be good at it, but be good at the things that you're really good at, the things you want to be good at. I like being good at systems, I just built that way. All right. So now that we've got everything set out, I'm just going to do our refresh. And let's see where we are. Okay, so it's flipped out all of our names. It's got our gear. There's our settings. Okay, close enough. Well, again, this not great, right? Because it's okay, but it's not great because it covered up something. But it doesn't matter. That is super easy, right? I just need the functionality of there. This is the thing, right? So this little piece broken, that's okay, because that's what I needed to do. I needed to be trying to do something because I want it connected to something later. So that is okay. All this stuff we're going to do later. So we'll come back into all those. Let me just do one more quick test. And all right, I am building the nitwit operating system, and I'm trying to figure out what the next steps are, and I'm just not sure. So I'm kind of wondering, do you know anything about nitwit? The answer is no, it won't, because this is going to go directly to Gemini 3.5, which was just born, or whatever, just released, I should say. So I kind of expect some of these answers, but I also don't mind asking. And I really want to test the scroll. So there's my adjust and then proceed. So that's a good sign. Let's see if they disappear or not. And nope. So I still don't have my scroll. So I got to figure that thing out. But pushed it in the craft. So that's good. So now it's thinking wealth, signal, life. Synthesize OS core architecture, map out immediate development milestones. HiLuke 3 confirmed. Define the core principal architecture. Establish the minimal visible environment system tool. Outline the driver interface. Structure the file system. All right. It's for not knowing. It's pretty good. I'm happy. This because I know there's a bunch of, because remember, I've been doing this for 90 days. Like I have a lot of stuff in my head that's firing off right now where it's going, oh, this is so good. So this is what I'm looking for. So the hardest part for me, the big win for me, I got the AI connected. So now we have AI integrated. Now I can integrate everything. It's just a matter at this point, not of prompting like I was prompting earlier. So I'm not going to say, okay, now I want to do Now what I want to do is I'm going to create a bunch of LEAP files, and I'm going to work through my logic of how I think about things. And those LEAP files, I'm going to execute those. So what'll happen is I'm going to think through all my logic and create a bunch of logic files. Then I'm going to say, run the logic file and build the rest of the desktop operating system or whatever the piece is that it needs to be built. And that's how it'll happen. As opposed to what I was just doing, which is what I think most people do when they vibe code, which is they're sort of talking to their agent and they say, now I want you to change a bunch of stuff. And the agent goes in and changes stuff. So I just did that. But I also told you, that's probably kind of a bad example. You shouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now, which is true. I'm just trying to pretty it up for you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the leaps, right? The leap.md files, logically engineered AI prompts, because that's a logical structure of how the AI thinks about building the thing that I need it to build. But in order for it to get the LEAP file, it's because it's gone through how I logically think. So it's kind of acting as if it's me, except that it knows everything about code and development, and it thinks like I do around structure and system. So what would I be able to build if I did know how to be a developer, right? And I don't want to learn how to be a developer because I'm really good at the systems and operations stuff, but that's what I want to do. But the AI can certainly pull in knowledge of a developer and then associate it to those LEAP files. That's how that whole thing works. So I'll show you more about that stuff tomorrow as we go through, and I will show you the LEAPs. Again, just as a reminder, these are what LEAPs are, right? So they kind of have a breakdown of recipe files in here. There's a structure. So this is AI writing prompts for itself, right? Logically engineered AI prompts. So I'm going to create these, and then these are the things that are going to build the rest of the stuff tomorrow. So by tomorrow, I'm either going to create these. I might create these live for you or have some of them already created. Because again, that's just part of the system. So it'll automatically do that. And then I'll show you how to, either way, I will show you how we're going to run them. So we'll have it ready and I'll say, hey, run this LEAP file. And then you'll see the whole thing just sort of code. which is really cool because you get a much better response. So at this point, I'm probably $2.50, maybe $2.75, something like that in for the day. I got maybe another, I'm going to guess $1.50 that I'll probably end up spending today. And that's about it. And then we'll be ready to go tomorrow and build out the rest of it. So, all right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and officially end this one. So I appreciate y'all being here for the live stream in the afternoon. This is win number 2. We got 30 days of 30 wins. And you will see in the first beginning bits, they kind of go like, this is what I expect. I expect day 1 to be like, and day 2 to be like, and then day 3 to be like, And then all of a sudden you go 4, 5, 6, 7, and it just exponentially goes up and you'll start to see some leaps. And that's what I'm expecting. So I hope you get that. That's what I'm hoping to deliver. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. We are also going to come up with there's going to be a system, a little Nitwit prompting system that we're going to be able to practice with as well. So I'll talk to you more about that tomorrow. We'll have Nitwit red team and Nitwit blue team. And that'll be good because the Nitwit is actually going to listen for your comments over time. Because I know there may not be a lot of people when we're doing this in June, but if, July, August, September roll around, people are watching these videos and they're putting stuff in there, Nitwit's still going to be paying attention to some of that as it adjusts itself. So I can't wait. A little crowdfunding from the start. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks again for being here, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.